Have we got a script, have we, today?
Script. I tell you what. What do you think this is? Professional?
I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
You are the new student. Come closer.
You're listening to the Kung Fu Podcast presented by James Still
I don't care if it's Muhammad, Imard, Bruce Lee.
and Steve Newby.
This is the original 5 Fingers of Death right here.
But my hands are registered as lethal weapons. That means we get into a fight, I accidentally kill you, I go to jail.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Kung Fu Podcast with me, James Still, and the venerable old man, Steve Newby in Canada. How you doing, Steve?
That's me. Yeah, good.
That's you, good.
It's not been great weather today. It's a bit rainy.
Is it?
Yeah.
You mean you have bad weather in Canada? This doesn't sound like the Canada you keep telling me about.
Well, wait till summer.
When you're going to be sat in your rubber ring, drifting down the lakes, you know.
Oh, down the river. Yeah, they have this river run, and you can everybody takes a massive ring. We've got this thing. It's like a big rubber pirate ship with a big parrot on it, and it's you can have about 6 to 8 people on it. That's how big it is. And you just stick it on the river, and it takes about 4 hours to go from one lake to the other, just floating down this river. Everyone does it. Just, they will take the beer, but they have to stick it in pop cans and pop bottles, because it's illegal to drink in public.
Oh, right.
Like that. So they all take it in pop cans, and everyone ignores them anyway, because they're only on the river. They're not going to fall over anywhere.
Oh, well, that's
what's the worst they can do is drown in about 6 inches of water.
Well, you can ice skate on those lakes in winter.
On the lakes, oh yeah, on the lakes you can. Not on the river so much. The rivers.
Okay.
It's just that one lake's slightly higher than the other one, so the river runs from one to the other.
Oh, okay. All right. Happy days.
It's in Penticton.
Right, Penticton. Super duper smashing great. We'll be talking about Canadian trucks next. Hang on. Right, we've got to start talking about some kung fu. We're on a bit of a buzz because we've just literally finished doing a reaction video to bad
our first reaction video.
Oh my god!
Well, it's the bad people in martial arts, really.
Well, but it's more specifically to do with Lao. Like it's people doing bad Lao. So
Yeah, well, I was asked to criticise somebody. I mean, I got no problem with critique either way. It's going to have a good reason, and this one had a damn good reason.
Oh yeah.
So when you profess to teach a style, then you could at least learn it and be qualified to teach it. And this one is not. I know him well, and he kind of calls himself a master, 40 years of experience, and which makes him about 9 when he started training, I guess.
Don't call yourself a master, please. For the love of God, please don't call yourself a master. So what we'll put out is going to be like the heavily edited version, and I would call it the polite version. But
I didn't swear.
No, well, you didn't know, but it was quite funny. Right, so talking about funny people, I got some. See if you can guess who I'm talking about, and so I'm going to read out some sort of, in quotation marks, facts. All right, and all I want you to do is just try and guess who it is. But let me finish them first. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this person holds an MBA degree. He owns land, property, and businesses in over 40 different countries. Okay, drives a $100,000 car. Yeah, frequently receives lavish and expensive gifts. Okay, has been accused of soliciting prostitutes and allegedly extorted money from his employees to pay them. Any guesses so far?
Yeah.
Go on. Who?
It's the abbot at Shaolin Temple.
Oh, you went straight in there. Yes, it was. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. It is the abbot. That's Shi Yongzin, the current abbot, right? So also, okay, supports the demolition of local villages in order to further his businesses. Yeah, has been accused multiple times of sexual assault, and his business ventures include hotels and golf courses. And he's deeply embedded with politics. Do you know, I thought you were going to go on a tirade about Donald Trump. I was like, no, that's the abbot. That's the abbot of the Shaolin Temple. Can you believe that? That's shocking.
Yeah, well, when I went to Shaolin, I went to the pagoda forest where all the old abbots are, buried.
Yeah.
The original monks of the temple. And right there, it made of concrete rather than bricks, which the other ones are made of. Pagodas made of bricks.
Yeah.
And the size of them would dictate the importance of the person buried there.
Yeah.
And theirs was his, and it was it had like aeroplanes on it and trains and all that sort of thing on it, and made of concrete, waiting for him to die.
Wow. Yeah, they call him like the CEO monk because he's like he's really tried to proliferate the Shaolin like throughout the world. That like because you had that Wheel of Life thing and all this and that and the other. And all
that was the British people that sort of got that together.
Yeah, but they needed the support of the obviously it's business venture, isn't it? Was it British people? Was it? I didn't realise.
Yeah.
Oh, just having a cup of tea. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I've got coffee. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to need it. So, what else? What can we talk about? Because I don't know what we're going to talk about. What do you want to talk about? I've got some questions I could ask you. I've got an inside source. Did you know this?
No, I didn't know.
Oh yeah,
an inside source from what?
And I've got some correspondence.
Are you eating again?
No.
Every week I have to tell you you're eating because look. Sorry. If you're going to eat, at least close your mouth when you're eating. Because all I can hear is you chomp, chomp, chomp.
The podcast will... Right, okay. Sorry. Listen, how long have you been doing Laogar now?
I was 21, I'm 62 now.
Right, so that's what? 41 years. Yeah? 41 years. And that's genuine 41 genuine years of training.
Uh-huh.
Right then, so I'm going to ask you some questions, right, about the Laogar syllabus, okay? Because my source has come through with some info, right? And I've got some descriptions of moves in Laogar, right? And I want you to try and guess which set they're from, right? So I'm going to read out, let me finish reading out, all right, the descriptions of these techniques, and we'll see if you can identify the form, the set that they come from. Is that all right? You have to channel your inner Alan Turing here, okay? So switch it on, right? The Enigma machine ain't got shit on this, I tell you. Right, you ready? Okay, right. So guess the set, but let me read him out first, all right? Okay. Back step, silk winding hand. Okay. Fierce tiger comes out of cave. Bell, drum together. And the boy salutes Buddha. Which set, if you had to guess, would they come from? Come on. Which set?
I don't know. Would that be Farcune?
No! That was from Back by Jern, right? Come on. 41 years, you didn't know Boy Salutes Buddha. Boy Salutes Buddha, old man. Right.
Does he?
Yeah, he does, yeah, right. Okay, so next set, all right? So remember, let me finish.
I can see I'm not going to have any joy with this, and I think we better call Alan Turing.
They get better. Well, good luck. I mean, I think he's in a different realm now, but we'll see.
Yeah, I did used to go to a club in Bletchley Park. Well, it was in Bletchley Leisure Centre. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't that far from Bletchley Park.
Oh, that's
Milton
right.
Keynes.
Well, bloody hell. If the Nazis had this, maybe they'd have won the war, Right, hang on. Right, what set are these descriptions of moves from? Okay, floating cloud, hand 10 word palm. I'll repeat that again. I'll repeat that again because I'm struggling. Floating cloud, hand 10 word palm. Next one, step up 10 word palm. No clue. I got one more. Open door, look at mountain. Any idea what set those are from?
Now go look up Q.
No.
I'm just stabbing.
You're stabbing. A stab in the dark. I'll have a stab in the dark. No, that was Fei Lung Chi. Right? Okay, right.
Wait a minute.
What?
Open the door.
Open.
I wouldn't open a door like that. I'd have opened the door like.
Mountain.
Well, in Logo Look at Q, when you pull your hands back and you push them out sideways,
Yeah.
I thought maybe you'd be opening the door there.
No, that's I don't know what that is. That's reaching for the toilet paper on both sides of the wall. Didn't you know? Right. Okay. Right. What set is this move from? There's only one.
This is going to be the last one now, James.
No. It's not the last one.
I'm only humouring you.
Okay. All right. Right. What set's this from? Homage to Buddha.
Oh my God.
I'll give you a clue. Right.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that all I get?
Yeah. That's all you get. That's the one.
Homage to Buddha.
Well, if you're hip, you can say homage, but homage, right? Homage to Buddha. I'll give you a clue. Homage to Buddha 3 times.
Homage to Buddha 3 times.
Yeah. What's that from? I've got to hurry you.
John Sow.
Yes. Oh, it's John Sow. That's right. That's
Since when do you do this wrist movement round 3 times? And that's a homage. Homage. That's an homage to Buddha, is it?
Apparently, it is. Yep.
So you're putting your hand out, then you're rotating it round and bouncing, going out with the wrist, but then the homage to Buddha is just putting your right hand out, is it, or left hand, whatever?
You've been doing it longer than me. You tell me.
I'll tell you one thing, right?
What?
If you want to learn a set by learning all those things, first of all, you will need Bletchley Park, right? Secondly, you're only ever going to learn one move, because you're going to do the move in the perception that, I like things like monkey plucks the peaches and twin dragon in search of pearls. I like that. Because that's twin dragon, that's the 2 fingers poking someone in the eye. And the monkey plucks peaches, you can imagine what that is. Okay? And they actually describe you doing something. They don't describe a story that doesn't necessarily collate to everybody. Now, okay, I understand that a teacher may teach using these things, and then the student might learn using those things. But it doesn't give the student any more preference or ability to learn what is in between the beginning of the move and the end of the move. Remember that just because you make a move doesn't mean it's an A to a B. It's an A, B, C, D, E, F, E, depending on how long the move is, because there are so many different ways you can use that move and so many different positions that you can use that move, that the end product, the end position, doesn't necessarily mean a thing.
Yeah.
It's the same as a punch. Just a punch. If you do a straight punch, does the end of the punch mean anything? Because you should have hit him while your arm was still bent. So all the end of the punch is doing is demonstrating that's how long your arm is. In other words, you never slow down. You keep the technique going all the way through, right? But by the time it reaches the end, it should have already done its job.
Okay.
So therefore, if you profess to give the end name a title,
Right.
you've missed the journey.
Yeah. You just concentrate
So-
on the end, if you
Yeah.
like you just said. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So many of those things, although they're quaint and they're nice and they're poetic,
Well,
they
yeah.
basically will give you, to a certain extent, an idea. It's like what we were talking about the other day when you're grinding the corn.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
grinding the corn. So you're acting as if you were pulling a lever round and round and round on a wheel that would grind corn. Okay, now how many people do that today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so they're not. If you say to someone, right, grind the corn, they'll go, oh, where's the button? So most techniques today will be a thumbprint, will be a thumb sticking it out in the air, the thumb, grind the corn, make the bread,
Yeah.
put the button on, turn the telly on, put the button, So
You haven't heard the
I
best
do
one yet?
understand how quaint it is. I do understand
Oh.
it really is. It's a nice thing.
Listen,
but
I haven't finished yet. I haven't
Oh,
finished
God,
yet. You
okay.
haven't heard the best one yet. The best
Oh.
ones, all right? You
All
ready?
right.
Last one now, I promise. Last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so again, what set are these from? Okay, let me finish them. Soft rope, dry garment. Oh. Raised torch to burn sky. Pan bird spreads wings. And these two might give it away. Spiritual leopard snatches food. Spiritual leopard jumps ravine. Go on.
is that Laugo lookup cue?
That is Laugo lookup Kuhn. Well done. See, old man Noobs, that your 41 years has served you well.
Well, in the tiger fork form,
Yeah.
the tiger stretches its back. Right. The little things you can remember earlier on, So I guess that's one way of doing it. But honestly, for me, and it won't be for everybody, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love that. They think it's quaint and they think it makes them more of a martial artist by understanding the Chinese proverbs or Chinese culture, and that's absolutely fine. If that's the way you want to approach martial arts, that's good. I don't know. I'm into the physicality of it. I'm into the science of it, the principles, and so I do understand that people say, well, if you don't know those, you can't learn. Well, I'm sorry, I beg to differ, because
Is it not?
you don't have to quote
is it-
those things when you're hitting someone.
Is it not just because we're dealing with the Chinese martial art and the Chinese culture to a certain extent? Is it not that we are? It's harking back to a time when descriptive words, were used prolifically. I mean, English language has changed throughout the years, obviously, but of course we understand that the Chinese language is very sort of. There's a lot of different meanings and.
Yeah, but you see, everything in the past was like that. Everybody around the world talked like that.
Yeah.
In England, until about the 13th century, or maybe later, they would talk in rhyme. And the reason they would talk in rhyme is because there were no commas and full stops, because no one had bloody invented them yet.
Right.
Right? Until the 17th century, there wasn't a zero. Right? So mathematics was kind of awkward. Yeah. So until these things are developments of cultures over a period of time, and of course you have the same thing in England with Ringa Ringa Roses, a pocket full of posies, depicting the Black Death.
Yeah.
No, and then so many different verses and so many different even carols, Christmas carols to create little stories about religion.
Right.
There are so many different ways of portraying it because you don't read, or you can't read, because there was no material for you to read, and there was no time for you to read, because by the time you finished work you'd be reading by candlelight if you were lucky, if you could afford a candle. Then basically, most people didn't read, so they would pass on information like this.
Yeah.
And of course that would be exactly the same in China.
Yeah.
They still have a sun going down, they still have candles, or oil lamps, So, depending on how much you can afford. So even great masters and thinkers would have thought in the same way and given those kind of, dictorials, if you like, to try to make people remember their stuff.
When is it just a personal preference with you that you don't like this and you prefer the physicality of martial arts as opposed to a lot of the
it's
nerdy...
only my opinion.
What I mean is, like, this is in my opinion, this is quite nerdy, but it kind of appeals to a certain side of me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think
Oh, and it does to me too. I do like the way people say that. I do like to hear those things, but
we do get confused.
It's not going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. We do get very confused with, the mysticism and the esoteric side of kung fu as opposed to the actual physical application of it. And this is where your gripe is, I think. Am I kind of right there?
Yeah, and the other thing is, of course, we're still talking about the animals, the 5 animals. There's a 5 animal set which I've I learned twice and forgotten because it's not part of the syllabus, and my intent is to learn the moves from it, most definitely, but I don't need to practice a big long form like that in order to do martial arts. The shorter the forms, the reason Lao is so short and the reason it's no good in when they do things like the nationals and everybody comes out with bloody wushu sets and tai chi sets. The reason it's not used there is because they can't compete with the fluidity and the beauty of much longer sets, but that's all they are, beautiful and fluid. But half the time people, you watch them, they haven't even got a clue what they're doing with those movements. Right. Even if they're holding a sword, they don't even know what they're doing with it. So it's really important for me to promote Lao, because Lao is known as an ugly style because it's not meant to look pretty.
But who said it's an ugly style?
That's just how it's known. It's known as an ugly style because it's not meant to be, portrayed as pretty. It's meant to be hidden. It's meant to be secret. It's a secret society style, for God's sake. So consequently, the sets are very short. Why are they short? Because you can practice them 10 times by the time someone's finished one of those long forms, you've practiced your own techniques 10 times, and you've probably gone to dinner at the same time. So that's why Lao appeals to me, because you can do. When I was training, when I was like, I went to live in Milton Keynes, and I had a job in Milton Keynes, and I used to go out in a truck, but the truck had no bed in those days. It didn't have a bed, so I used to share my cab with a bloody big Alsatian called Dexter, and my love of my life, I have to say, and he would sleep on the floor well, and I would sleep across. I had to turn the gear stick around as if I was lifting the cab so that I can actually have a bed, and then sometimes we'd sleep in the back, right? And in the back, that's all I would do was train. That's all I would do. Or I'd get out and I'd do it in the car park where I parked overnight, because I had nights out in the truck. So I'd just do constantly practice in the car park or in the back of the truck. And of course, when you've got like nice sides of the truck, a taut liner, like canvas sides or plastic sides nowadays, you would be punching them like crazy and kicking the sides of those trucks. I don't know what people must have thought. They must have thought there was a fight going on inside the truck. They walked past.
Someone who's smuggling the immigrants,
Yeah.
They're kicking off. They want to get out.
Yeah. I was lying in the truck one day. I know I'm going off on a tangent here. I was lying in the truck one day on cardboard boxes, the remaining delivery, and the dog was lying there, nice asleep. Suddenly there was this noise at the back, and the door opened up, slid open, and the dog sat up, and just all his teeth were everywhere, dripping. You can imagine. He's a fantastic guard dog, and he just looked up and looked straight down at the door as it opened, and a big torch came in, and this policeman was there with this torch. He says, started sweating. Is this your truck? Well, yeah. And so, boom, straight down the door, quick as he could. I tell you what, I've seen people run into the middle of the bloody road trying to avoid my dog. They sort of hung out the side of the truck when they got too close to it. It was amazing. But we digress. That's the point is training everywhere, training in the truck. Very short sets allowed me to practice them as often as I liked. And I am all about the basic syllabus. everything beyond the basic syllabus. The weaponry is obviously traditionally taught and maintained, and it's not just simply because we're going to get outside and start throwing a sword around or throw a spear at somebody. It's simply because it maintains the history, and that for me is the history. So those things I maintain, and they are very useful as well, because they've let them die off because they think, oh well, we're never going to use that weapon outside, so what's the point in practicing it? Well, because they didn't know the detail of it, because they didn't know the essence of the spirit of that, if you like, of that weapon. They couldn't benefit from the stances and the steps in heavy weaponry. Obviously, when you throw a heavy weapon, you've got to know where your feet are, otherwise you ain't going to be able to catch it, or pick it up, or use it, or throw it, swing it. So that's what the weapons are for. But as far as the style is concerned, the first 7 sets are all you need. After that, all those big ones, they've just been added.
But some people might confuse your sort of attitude to train the basics with, well, that's all he knows. You don't know much about weaponry and whatnot. And
I just told him I know all the bloody weaponry. I sustain the weaponry
detail.
For that very reason. Yeah,
but the detail you have talking about swords, with me the other day was, is incredible.
And I know about King Kong, but I don't want.
Listen, what you do with primates is your own business.
I respect people who want to learn these additional forms until I watch their small forms, until I watch their Lao forms. And then when I watch their Lao forms, they better be bloody good at them. Because if they're not, they've got no excuse, because they go out, they learn these big flamboyant forms, and after that, they learn another one and then another. Well, it's great, it's a nice way of learning, maybe it's their way of learning, but for me, understand the amount of possibilities there are with the small forms. I mean, let's look at it. Okay, we can look at it another point of view. Let's look at it from an MMA fighter.
Right.
And an MMA fighter decides he's going to punch a bag, do some skipping, punch some pads, and he's going to learn several techniques which are going to get him specific to his way of training, his way of fighting, his build, his weight, his speed, his attitude towards it, his perseverance, and you tell him then, now you've learned all that, why don't you just go and then start learning this kind of movement and that kind of movement and that kind of movement. What's he going to say to you? He's going to say, thanks, but no. He might learn it, but then he'll go, well, all it's doing is taking me away from the skill I have in the basics. Because without the basics, what do you have? You look great, but what are you going to use those things? Are you going to actually use them? Have you ever seen anybody? Have you ever watched a Tai Chi match from the 50s and the 60s in China, where two martial artists get together and one does Tai Chi and the other one does some other martial art, whatever, some other Kung Fu?
I've seen a few of the old rooftop fights.
Yeah, that's right. And does it look like Tai Chi?
Does it buggery? I tell you what,
it doesn't. They just swing at each other.
Yeah, and they're falling over bloody the rooftop, obstacles and all that. It looks least like Kung Fu you could ever make. But they're trying to hit each other. They're trying to hit each other.
Exactly. So I rest my case. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to use the most primitive techniques to strike each other, because all the rest goes out the window. Now, we don't train, and I do appreciate the preservation of these long forms. I understand that. And if people want to do it, that's fine. But for me, I like the idea of scientific strategies of self-defense. I'm not a fighter. I'm not interested in going into a ring at my age anyway. I've done a little bit of sparring, did a little bit of competition, and got some world champions as well, because I can coach it, but I'm not capable personally of jumping into a ring. So why should I practice those things? So the point for me is my preservation, my self-defense, and the preservation of people who want to learn preservation from me. And if I can have, and I have had this, if I have someone come up to me, a student who goes, last night a guy tried to he broke a pool cue on the table, tried to attack me with it, right? So I panned him, knocked him out, put him on the ground, panned him completely. Another girl comes to me, she says, I did Taekwondo for years. This bouncer tried to grab hold of me. Says all I did was this move, and she showed me the move at the first set.
Yeah.
She says, and it was enough. She says, I never even thought about doing Taekwondo. I never even considered it. Why? Because no confidence in it.
Yeah.
So you develop students to have confidence in the capabilities that they have, but of course, having confidence is one thing, having capability is another. So confidence comes from the instructor developing the techniques, but the training has to be the student.
100% has to be the student, but they've got to be aware of what direction their training is going in. And
Yes.
and if we just look at what we've just been talking about, I mean, if you're training this set, that set, this set, that set, and you are clouding your training mind, if you like, with so many different things, you're forgetting the basics. You're going to struggle. You just are. I mean, for Christ's
Well, the problem you've got, James, is that a lot of people obviously leave a style for one reason or another. They might not like the people they're training with. They might not like the instructor. The instructor might not like them. Get rid of them. I don't know. For any reason, they might just move home and start another style. But for the people who decide that they don't like the style and decide to go elsewhere, or they don't like the people they're training with, in other words, they don't have any respect for anyone, and they just decide to go off and do another style, then they start learning a completely alien style, thinking that it's going to add to their repertoire, and then they do another style, or a little bit from here, a little bit from there, what you want to call cross training if you want, but not for fighting purposes, just simply to learn new forms and a different weapon and all that. They're going to be so confused, and it actually doesn't make them better, it actually makes them worse. They actually deviate from the process of learning in order to find new ways of learning, and it doesn't work like that. You can't do that. If you've got a scientific basis in the first place, right, and you know it works, and you have confidence in it, and you train it, then and obviously you know it works because you've been there so long and you understand it works and you've practiced it. Because remember, in Lao, we don't just fight each other in Lao. We go to other competitions and fight in other competitions, and obviously some of us are unlucky enough, if you like, to do self-defense, and it seems to work. It's okay, and if it don't, get back to the drawing board and find out why. But we've got to know at the basic start of the drawing board that the technique has to work. That's why you've got to ask these questions. That's why you've got to practice forms as if you were fighting, and use the techniques and split the sets apart. Where I'm just trying to finish. Hang on, I'm going to lose my track. I'm on a roll. Yeah. So obviously these people go off and they learn these new things. They know they had a good basis in the first place. They start learning things that mean absolutely no sense to them. The only reason they stay there is because they think, well, I know a lot of stuff that these people don't know, so that gives me kind of authority, that gives me some prestige in this situation. So they still think they're going to be respected because they have knowledge that the people they've just joined don't. And so and the unfortunate thing is they still have to learn the new stuff, but half the time they're going, what the hell is this about? I don't even like this. And it's very, very difficult for them. And what I call them, when they leave the style, I have always called students who leave the style and go to another style, I've called them the walking dead, right? And the reason I call them the walking dead is because they can't come back and they can't go forwards. They are just in limbo, because there's no way they'll ever be able to understand the new thing without recognizing the benefits of the old.
I mean, it's quite presumptuous of you, if I'm playing devil's advocate, to assume that Lao is the finest style out there. I mean, the way you talk about it, it's like you're saying, well, they can go to this style, but it won't be as good, or this style won't be as good. What gives you the authority, if you like? I'm not talking about Lao, but to make those claims.
I understand that totally, but 41 years, I guess. 41 years of watching these styles grow and die.
Right, okay.
and recognizing that when you have done Lao and you have a genuine teacher and you have genuine information and you have a genuine reason for doing things, and you purposefully discover that these things work, and then you watch other martial arts and you watch other people come into your clubs from other martial arts and dictate this and you know, dispute that and dispute the other. Oh yeah. I had one guy, he come from Taekwondo, and he says, I says, what's the fastest thing, a punch or a kick? And he went, oh, a kick. I says, so you think you can get your foot 7 feet from the back end of your foot, back end of your stance to my head before I can jab you? And he went, yeah. I said, go on then. He did the kick, and I punched him 3 times. By the time his leg came up, it just absolutely ridiculous the way people can think. And so I guess I haven't got authority, I've only got opinion.
A bit of experience,
but my opinion is based on facts. So, you know, and of course there will be people that will come from these styles because they're genuinely enthusiastic about finding out what works and what doesn't. So a lot of them actually learn new styles but don't actually learn the style. They just learn to punch and kick. Why do you think most martial artists, when they leave, turn into kickboxers?
Yeah.
Why do you think everybody who leaves Lao no longer does the sets, the forms in the way that they're supposed to do, and they end up starting doing kickboxing? So they start calling it kickboxing. Why do you think that happens? Because they can't remember the moves and they haven't got the quality of knowledge to pursue them.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's just the thing with kickboxing, though. It's a very sort of you can see it satiates the all your needs in a martial art in one sort of package, if you like, because from the off, you know, you're sparring, you're trying to hit someone, they're trying to kick you, you're trying to defend it, you're trying to counter, and it kind of feels. It feels just like real. You think, oh, this is how it would be, didn't it? This is it.
It would be. It would be if you had the distance and the ability to move. But as you know what they say, most fights end up on the ground. Well, that's true. And if you're throwing punches, and if punching someone can grab you, but you don't have a perception of your stance, you don't understand how to make very close quarter fighting techniques or shapes with your anatomical, you know, makeup to be able to change the other person's anatomical makeup, or you can't, you know, understand the feel of someone touching your arm, so you quickly grab hold of it with your wrist, with your other hand, and turn it into a lock as quickly as you can feel the way that the anatomy is moving. That is where the forms come in. That's where they come to play. It's the no man's land between standing there and throwing punches as a kickboxer and lying on the floor trying to survive as a grappler.
That's really good.
That middle.
The no man's land. Yeah.
Yes, like it's the bit that you will have to do when you suddenly realise someone's grabbed your arm and you can't punch anymore. What happens to boxers, James, when they're in a ring and they can no longer fight? They're finding it hard. They clinch. Yes, but they can't throw each other down. Although, you know, when they're not in a ring and they have these arguments just before the fight, they do end up on the floor. You know, they punch a few punches. The next thing you know is they're on the ground because there's no middle ground. There's no ability. Wait a minute. Oh, he's got my arm. If I just rotate my arm like that now, I'm now on top of him and he's underneath me. Oh, if I hold on to that hand as I do it, his wrist will twist. And if his wrist twists, I've got him in a lock. He's going to be in pain. It's these things.
I just, like you talked about no man's land. I never really considered that. But when I did a bit of judo training with the guys in the army, we'd always used to do, you know, you start off on your knees on the mats and roll and all that. No, obviously no striking. It's judo.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, in that moment, you know, after they said go and you've grabbed them, you've got them. I remember thinking in my mind, I came over quite calm because I remember thinking I'm totally aware of where all my appendages are right now. I'm totally aware that your head is like 6 inches from mine, and my fingers could go in your eye. I could, you know,
headbutt him.
All that, and I'm not professing to be any, you know, great fighter. I'm just saying it. I had awareness of it, and it's that awareness that I think
keeps you calm in between.
Yeah, but you can, you know, like, I think that's something lacking. If you're just training, say judo, and there's nothing wrong with judo, I do like watching just judo, right? That's fine. But if you're just training it, you tend to you get lulled into a false sense of security, right, with these things, because you're like, well, I can't hit them, I can't bite them, I can't freaking squeeze their eyeball and pop it, and whatnot. So I'm limited as to what I can do, but at the same time, you've got to recognise that there is this no man's land. I really like that, what you said there. Yeah,
well, you got to think that, of course, what they say is all plans go to pot as soon as action starts.
No plan survives contact.
There's no plan, exactly. So how far can you take that? You've got a plan at the beginning, you've got a strategy at the beginning. Okay, so in other words, he's coming at me, I think I'm going to throw a punch. I've decided if he comes any closer, I'm going to throw a punch at him, or it's just an automatic response, which it can be. I remember doing it when I was 16 in the Navy. I had a guy, accused me of nicking so many thousand yen. It was by Japan, and he tried to. He was 32 years old. I was 16 years old, and he just came, into my cabin and says, "Oh, you've done this and done that and whatever," and without me even thinking, my fist was in his face. I just punched him straight in the face, and then he fell on the floor crying. And then I was on top of him. Then I went upstairs to the bridge, and I says to the second mate, I says, "What do you do when someone comes up into your house, into your cabin, and accuses you of nicking so many thousand yen?" And this guy and the it was a funny thing, because the second mate, he says, "Oh, you hit him?" And I says, "I did," and I lifted up my arm, and my sleeve it had blood all down my sleeve. And he looked at it, you should have seen his face. And he says, oh, let's go down. And we went downstairs. I'd locked him in my cabin so he couldn't nick anything of mine. And we went down, there he was with a bloody nose, and he's going this, that and the other. We went to his room, lifted up his pillow, there was his money. In his own, he was just drunk. I think he was drunk, I don't know. He didn't appear to be, he might have been high. But anyway, that's a little story. But the thing is, you see, like I said, it's an automatic response, isn't it? Sometimes it's an automatic response, and if you can train like that, it will be an automatic. That was just in my nature. I don't know why. I don't know why.
But you mentioned planning before, and you just casually skipped it by. So we've got to establish there's a difference.
No, I was going to come back to it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, right. I was going to come back to it, because you do have a strategy, and that strategy ends as soon as the fight doesn't go your way. So if you're a puncher and a kicker, and you like punching and kicking, and suddenly the guy grabs you, just like an MMA fight, and he gets you down on the ground, that's you. Now you've got a problem. You've got to fight his way. You've got to get out of it. So, but what if you trained to understand the concept of the grab when someone grabbed you? What if you were capable of throwing punches, but they were able to grab hold of the punch? What do you do with that hand? Then you follow it, and you follow a line, like sticky hands. You no longer see it; you now feel it. That's why sticky hands is so important, because you throw a punch, suddenly feel someone, you wrap your hand, and suddenly change your anatomical, position of your arms, and it makes it much more difficult for them to pull or grab or push. And of course, you've got your footwork, so immediately you feel them pushing, you change your footwork, they become thrown, they become pulled, they become pushed, and that's what you've got to do. So it's all about, it's a nature that you have to develop, not I'm going to do this technique or that technique. If he does this, he does that. That's for later. One of the things I always say to people is there's no such thing as I've completely forgotten it now.
Hard men and the soft ones.
Thank you.
That was Raquel Welch. We've talked about this before.
Yes, that's right. No such thing as hard men, just soft ones. Thank you for saving my bacon there, James. Thank God I taught you that, because I thought Raquel Welch was great. In 1 million years BC. But no, she was in a movie, in a cowboy movie or something. She was out for revenge, and everyone thought she was going to get done in, and they says, "Oh, this guy's tough guy. You're going to go for him. He's going to kill you or whatever." And she says, "There's no such thing as hard men, just soft ones." In other words, meaning, of course, that you think someone's harder than you, it's not true. It's because you're softer than them. That's what she meant by it. Now, I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but you'll find that cowards are the people that talk about it afterwards. I would have done this, I would have done that. They're the people that shout, and blaspheme and sort of being credulously, heroic when they're standing on a balcony shouting down at you. But as soon as you go up to the balcony, they want to make friends.
Yeah.
And that happened to me as well.
Oh,
because that dog, my Alsatian, killed a dog.
Yeah.
And my neighbour's dog, my Alsatian killed a neighbour's dog. Oh my God. And when I went out, I got home and the police were there, and I had to show them all the licenses I had for the dog, which was fine. And then and he's there on the top of the balcony going, "Oh, you're effing this and you're effing that. I'm gonna smack you. Come up here." And I says, "Why don't you come down here?" And he says, and then I actually calmed him right down and told him I would pay for his dog and really sorry and all this kind of thing. And he started off on another one again. It ended up going to court actually, but they never turned up for court. So if they do, they owe us money, because it turned out that his dog was just a bloody pest.
Oh, I was going to say, I was at a petrol station, something similar. I was at a petrol station, and I pulled in to the furthest pump, and I looked to my right, and I was like, oh no, the diesel's off. So I reversed my car, did all my mirrors and whatnot, reversed the car to the first pump, but as I was reversing, there was a car sort of turning in to the rear pump, and anyway, I pulled up next to the rear pump, and I could see in my rear view mirror that this guy with his wife just was freaking effing and jeffing and cursing at my car, blah 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 blah, like almost hitting the steering wheel. I thought, oh right, okay. So I got out and I walked straight to his driver's window, and I said, "You all right?" And his face just dropped. He said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "I'm sorry about that." I said, "Yeah, the front pump diesel is closed down." He went, "Yeah, no problem." But I was like, I'm not. I just, you know what I mean? I'll just take it to him, because most people fighting.
Yeah, you got to take
to
it.
Say is 90% bluff, and it's true.
Yes.
And
yes, it is.
So, but that was
Absolutely.
funny. It's not because I'm hard. It's maybe because I'm stupid. I do.
Well, look, you can diffuse it and remember, he's still in his car. So
right.
If he opened his car, I would.
Hang on. What happened to you when you were in a car once? Didn't you pull next to someone who was gobbing off?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of road rage experience. People are crazy. I remember I'm a truck driver, for God's sakes, by nature. So I did. Yeah, a guy sort of, there was 2 lanes coming to an island, 2 lanes around the island, 1 lane the other end. And so basically he come around, he overtook me at the island and then cut in right in front of me, nearly hit the front of my car. So I flashed him and pipped him. And of course he stuck his hands up, this, that and the other, all that lot, and started going crazy. And as we got off the island, going down, he slammed his brakes and pulled up right in front of me, and I saw him take his seatbelt off. So as soon as he took his seatbelt off, all I did was just drive straight round the side and parked right next to his driver's door. And he was going ape shit. He was going crazy, and all I did was I was sitting there, and I just turned and looked straight at him. And he just didn't know what to do, because he couldn't open his car. Simple as that. He couldn't open his car. He was just going crazy, and I just looked at him, give him a good stare, and then just drove off. And that was the end of that.
You know what Bruce Lee would say? That was the art of fighting without fighting. Yeah.
I think the majority of road rages and things I hate vandals, right? And so I've been in a lot of experiences with vandals where they've been doing something, and it's just been terrible. And but I can't stand it. Something happens to me when I was younger, particularly, and I've been in lots of situations like that. So it's just, it's not about fighting. I find it really much better when you're actually you can end the fight without any fighting whatsoever. It's fantastic. It's a lovely feeling of going, shut up, and that's it.
Yeah.
And but you've got to be able to follow it through. A lot of people can talk like that, but you've got to be able to, step up. Otherwise, you shouldn't be in that situation, because you put yourself in danger. You put yourself in danger every time. I suppose I told you about the time I parked my bike, and this is turning into an anecdotal thing. This is, by the way, parked my bike by the Chinese. I went in and I ordered my Chinese food, and while I was standing out the side with my push bike, this little Mini turned up with 3 kids in it, right, similar age to me, and they started walking in, and the last one looked at me and went, "What are you looking at?" And instinctively, I just looked at him. I says, "Get in the car," just like that. I says, "Get in that effing car," right? And his mates came back out. His two mates came back out of the Chinese. I says, "Get in the car, get in the car," right? And I was so aggressive. And you know what? I hadn't got a clue. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. So get in the car. And then anyway, they all got in the car, right? And they says, you know, when they closed the car, they went, "If you want trouble, you know where to come," like that. Anyway, and they drove off. And a few minutes later, they must have gone, "What?" They must have suddenly realised what they'd done. And anyway, my Chinese came. I got on my push bike. I started cycling. And there they are. They turn up right next to me. They jump out of the car, start chasing me, and they were going, "Stop, stop!" Because they said they as I was talking to them outside the Chinese, I said, you know, "Get in the car," and they're going, "There's three of us," like that. They said that, and then they got in the car and went. And of course, as I was cycling away from them, chasing me, they're going, "Stop!" And I says, "Why? There's three of you." And I carried on. But you know what? The end of this story is quite interesting because, and this is interesting. The next day, the very next day, I went to the shops, and there's a bus stop right next to the shop.
Yeah.
And there was one of these kids, right, on his own.
Their own. Oh, I love that.
Oh, it was great.
Divide
Do you know
and
what?
conquer.
Do you know what I did? So, what I did, basically, he must have seen me because he turned his back on me and tried to avoid me recognising him. And he was looking in the window of Sainsbury's or, you know, whatever it is, Safeways or something like that. He was looking in the window and probably watching my reflection to see where I was going. You know what I did? I went and stood next to him, just behind him, and I stared at him, at the reflection in the window, and he was shitting himself. He was shit. And then I just walked off, and that was it. That's all I did. Oh, it was brilliant. I hate vandals. I hate bullies. I just can't stand people who just, you know, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to try to pick on people and fight everyone?
Oh yeah.
You know, you're proving nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not about fighting, but when you argue with someone, it's nice to have a backup. It's nice to have. Of course, most people argue with people when they've got friends around their, you know, around their side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, shall I go into another one or?
Oh, for God's sake! Yeah. No. What I wanted to. You mentioned cross training earlier on.
Oh, yeah.
But did you know, and I only sort of found this out the other day, and I don't know, have you ever heard of Baritsu?
Who?
No, it's not a who, it's a what. Baritsu. Have you ever heard of it? It's a martial art, Baritsu.
Oh, Christ, I was going to say I had my first one here.
No,
and they gave it me for free for $10. Oh, wait a minute. So that was no, it's a burrito.
No, man, not a burrito.
Sorry.
Man.
Yeah, I went in Vancouver.
Thing.
I went into Vancouver and I says, "I've never had one before, so, you know, what's it like? What do I do?" And he went, "Oh, it's free to you, first time." Oh, well. Yeah. And I got this bloody, like a dinosaur egg it was. Friggin' hell, like a huge dinosaur egg in silver paper.
Hang on, we're a martial art podcast.
Yeah, okay, so what's this bloody...
It's not Lloyd Grossman. We've deliberated, cogitated. Right, Baritsu. You ever heard of it? No. What it is, I only found out about it the other day. Oh, hang on. I'm eating. Swallow. Okay, what it is allegedly the first Western martial art. Mixed martial art. Okay.
You mean not like Savat from France?
No. Interestingly enough, right? So this Baritsu was invented by a guy called Edward.
By a guy called what?
No. That was a Freudian slip. No, listen. Just because he had a nice suit, nice clothes, and carried an umbrella doesn't make him good. Right? Listen. It was Victorian, right? And developed by a guy called Edward Barton Wright. Okay, so that's where the Baritsu comes from. And what he did is he combined boxing with Savat, and he travelled to Japan to do judo. And
okay.
Jiu-jitsu, rather.
Let me just stop you right there, James.
Yeah.
It can't be a Western martial art, can it? If you learned it in Japan.
No. But they're saying it's the first time in the West that The first
It's
Western
isn't
mixed
it
martial
isn't it
arts.
funny, James? Isn't it funny how we've only just heard about it,
No.
and it was been here since the 18th century?
Well, this is what I was thinking. Now, I'm sure people in the know, like all the historical buffs and that, would have heard about it and know about it, but I just didn't. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But they teach it to this day. There's like little clubs, because have you ever heard of HEMA, like historical European martial arts and stuff?
No, I have, but I have seen the Kingsman.
Oh, there you go, right. But I haven't watched it.
Oh,
But people still train it. And the problem with it is they call boxing pugilism, so they try and glam it up and gliss it up. And the idea is with it, like it's a martial art for the discerning gentleman, right?
White collar boxing.
Well, yes and no, but meaning like a lot of the techniques are like use your pocket handkerchief to throw into the guy's face while you know, as a distraction to hit him. Use your umbrella to do this, that, and the other. So it's very much, they call it like the Victorian gentleman's martial art. And yeah, I thought I was interested in that. But another thing I found out about it was Sherlock Holmes in the books, Arthur Conan Doyle, allegedly, you know, put that.
Well, if you've seen the films,
did Baritsu,
if you've seen the films where Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, he's doing Wing Chun. He did Wing Chun.
He?
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Oh, right.
Downey Jr. studies Wing Chun. He's done that for a while, but you know, but he really likes his Wing Chun. Does Downey Jr. But yeah, no, I thought I was interested in that. I thought, oh, that's a bit of.
Yeah, it's interesting that you've only, you know, that I've never heard the name in all my life.
Yeah.
And been interested in martial arts for a long time, since I was 13 years old. So
well, there you
that's
go.
like 50 years or so. Wow. Nearly 50 years I've been interested in. Never heard of burrito until I ate one.
Taco Bell, you know, from the dojo.
Yeah.
Taco Bell. No. But you know, people do it and they enjoy it and all that.
Well, good on them.
Yeah. Another thing.
But the argument, I think my argument is, does it matter where the martial art comes from if it's useful to you? And of course, some people will never ever know other martial arts, because basically they'll only ever learn their own martial art and do it for self-defense. Now, if that martial art works for them in self-defense in every aspect, in other words, they're accosted by someone and it saves their life, or it saves their dignity or whatever, then surely that's good enough martial art for them, if it works. Now that is the key word, if it works. The problem is when you watch this bull that people profess to be masters and try to teach people, even when they know nothing about any particular named style, or when you see someone going, like I saw the other day, learn this in 60 minutes, you know, offense is the best form of defense, and then the next thing you got video of people pulling guns out on them, AK-47s in the car park, and then they're defeating them barehandedly with, you know, knocking the gun out their hand and doing all this. And you can learn that in 60 minutes, by the way, in your own home.
That's the Mossad shit there.
Yeah, well, all you've got to do is go out and find yourself a AK-47 and your quid's in. So, you know, these people, you know, often these people are like big guys, you know, they go, oh, I'm going to teach you how to do self-defense. Because they look at people, they look down at people, and these people look up at them, they think, Jesus Christ, he must be good, because look at the size of him and everything. Yeah. And this is the biggest fallacy of all. If a little thin guy came up to you and went, I'm going to teach you self-defense, you'd go, yeah, really? And okay, if you were prepared to go to his club and then he threw you all over the place, you'd respect him.
Oh yeah.
But why do you need to respect a guy who's already capable of hurting people, irrespective of whether he's learned a martial art or not? You know, because of his genuine, his size and his attitude and so on. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people in bars like that who have never done martial arts, and you know, they keep themselves to themselves. But you know, it's the bullies that you got to watch for.
Oh, for sure.
That's why you need martial arts for.
Yeah.
So, you know, such is life. Anyway. I digress again.
You know, you always do. I was going to mention that. I was in correspondence with one of our listeners, and a while back when we were talking about training things on the left. When we were talking about Laugar Lookup Q, and we were talking about when we look to the left.
Yeah.
And anyway, the listener sort of sent me something back, and I thought I'd just add it in there just now. And it says, to continue with the concept of left-handedness, I've heard that we look left in certain forms, because we were trying to train out of being left-handed, which was deemed inferior to the right hand. So is that have you ever heard of that?
Right-handedness has always been encouraged.
Yeah,
I mean, it's bad luck to eat with left hand, with chopsticks, for instance.
What got me thinking, I didn't know that about chopsticks, was originally loads of the forms in Lao were added a left-hand side, weren't they? So
yes,
that certainly
because it's not traditionally anymore, is it? It's modern times, as we say. We have to move with modern times, and there's a lot of left-handed people here. Because, like when I was at school, they would stick sticks across your hand if you used your left hand to write with. They would smack your hand, and maybe just before my time. In my time, when I started at school, I had a chalkboard. I know this is going back. I had a chalkboard, then I had a pencil. I learned how to sharpen a pencil with a proper modern pencil sharpener, not just a penknife, but a pencil sharpener, right? That turned around, that was stuck on a desk. That was amazing. And anyway, after that, I got a pen.
Yeah.
Okay, which was a dip ink pen. You had your inkwell and your blotting paper, and of course I was left-handed. I write with my left hand, but my right hand is the strongest, so I'm kind of caggy-handed. So as I'm writing, of course, when I finish the page, I look at the writing, and it's just nothing but smudged ink. It's just completely, it's gone. Everything I've written has gone.
Yeah, you have to kind of hook over the word, don't you, if you're left-handed?
And if you watch anybody who's left-handed, you'll see that any older person, that is, who's left-handed, they will actually have their wrist right bent around and twisted, so that or they'd hold the pen in a completely different way, because they're trying to avoid smudging the ink. And that is why people write like that when they're left-handed. From my age group, and so it is quite interesting to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought,
and of course, yes, it was looked down upon to be left-handed, and in China, same thing. No one should be left-handed. Main reason is you wipe your ass with your left hand. You shake hands with your right, wipe your ass with the left, and that's why it's an insult to use your left hand for anything.
I can honestly say, after serving in some Middle Eastern countries, and those will remain nameless, that doesn't spread across different cultures, shall we say?
No, it doesn't.
I'm not going to shake your hand because I've just watched you do something with no toilet roll and cold water. I'm like, no. But we digress.
Yeah,
But, no, I just thought that's an interesting point that this our listener sort of added to it, and we love tidbits. We love little nerdy nuggets of information. So if you've got anything, guys, send it to us.
We are just having conversation today, aren't we?
We're just with nothing special. I think on the next one we might talk about some more techniques. Specific stuff. Maybe we'll talk about some weaponry or something, which is also
we would. Yeah, well, we have gone through the knife defence. We've gone through all the basic sets. We can always go through the stick set if you want.
Oh, there's plenty more. Plenty.
But the thing is, you see, maybe we're just sitting by and waiting for people to, contradict us or write in with questions. And
they're either all like ignoring us. Or you must be right. I don't know.
Well, let's listen. Just a little bit of news, if you haven't seen it, on the Lao Kung Fu podcast. Someone's actually stuck. Well, I wouldn't say it was Lao, but it's kind of, Lao orientated, if you like. It's about weapons, and basically what happened is that Andrew Nations and Rash Patel just. Did a little video demonstrating. We a few podcasts back we talked about how flimsy weapons are, and so on. And so what Andrew did was he was in front of the video camera and he just swung his Kwando sideways and flat and then showed it the camera, and it was bent. He turned it round, swung it down again, and it came back up straight. So if you're going to use the weapon, make sure your weapon's solid.
Yeah.
Don't use flimsy weapons, because they're just so bad.
I mean, that's amazing. And
heavy weapons are meant to be heavy.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely amazing that the fact that something Laogar was posted on Laogar Facebook page is just a miracle.
Well, there's no mention of Laogar, I have to admit.
Oh, okay.
But I just associate it as Laogar because Andy does Laogar and Rash does Laogar. So I'm just going, there's something about Laogar on there. Someone with a video doing, at least. Yeah. Something that might be pertaining to Laogar, because it didn't do a set or anything with it. It just demonstrated how flimsy weapons can be.
It's like you always say.
So I'm still waiting for a form or something to come on, but no one will do a form on the podcast, James. No one will do a form on it because they know the second someone does something, they might have a completely different perception of the way that form works than someone else, and people with a little integrity would turn around and say, that's interesting, that works. Oh yeah, I've never thought of doing that like that. Oh, that could work, and so on. But a lot of people say, that's wrong. Well, it's not wrong if it's the same technique, just done for a different reason, because we already know there are thousands of reasons you can do something. Now, the funny thing I had when I first ever stuck something, Kevin out of Dex's Midnight Runners, the guy that taught, he taught for me in Bridgenorth, and he had that video thing. He did a few videos. We did a lot of self-defense videos in the early days, and we've got one where I'm on a towpath, and you can look it up on YouTube. You just put Steve Newby Laogar, and it comes up as this amusing self-defense skit where this young girl is jogging along, and I'm a baddie, and I sort of step out onto the towpath, and I try to grab hold of her, and as I grab her, she does a self-defense technique, and she throws me into the canal. And people always say to me, God, were you worried about bikes and stuff? I says, I didn't get wet, I was only acting. But in actual fact, I got absolutely bloody soaked, and I was scared stiff about bikes being in there. In fact, we checked it out for about an hour, looking to see that there was nothing in the water before we started filming. And she throws me in the water, literally. So if you want to see me being thrown in the water in slow motion, and you hear the genuine scream of fear as I fall backwards into the water. Anyway, I digress again. The first person, and I don't know if he did Lao, but I was assuming I do assume he did Lao. I didn't even answer it. The usual trolls you get, because I didn't know how to switch off the whatever it is. And so the first thing he wrote, I can't see any Lao techniques in that. And I'm going, and I'm looking thinking, you obviously don't know Laogar. Yeah, you obviously don't know Laogar, because you don't know your Laogar. Yeah. Because you're professing to say, surely Lao must work in every other way except that one. So it doesn't work in a situation like that. So what are you saying exactly? That you have to do other martial arts in order to learn how to, get out of a grab? Yeah. Is that what he's telling me?
But I think he might be, cross-train, open your mind.
Yeah, well, the movie's in Fei Lung Chi. Anyway, the movie's in Fei Lung Chi. It's just exaggerated in our technique. And obviously in Fei Lung Chi, they don't actually grab your lapel or your shoulder, which is I did with Jo, the girl that was in the video. And so I grabbed her, and she just went under, threw her arms over. I think you've done a recent self-defense thing.
Yeah, I think
lockdown.
So. I think maybe.
Lockdown self-defense. Lockdown lessons. I love that. Yeah. Look it up on our YouTube. Yeah. So anyway, it's that technique. She did it, and in back then 1990 something, and it was good. I had hair as well, by the way, so people might not recognise
it. Was the radioactive sludge that was in the canal that's probably contributed to your hair loss,
Yeah.
Did you find a used condom in your perm after that?
No, but I saw Enoch and Eli. They were fishing in the cut. They were fishing, and they said, and Eli said to Enoch, what did you catch? He says, I caught a whale. He says, what did you do? A whale? Wow. What did you do with it? He says, well, I threw it back. He said, why'd you throw the whale back? He says, well, because it had no spokes in it.
Oh, for Christ's sake, listen.
Yeah, for people who don't understand Black Country language, it's wheel, okay?
While, yes, sighing. Anyway, we can really blitz the West Country slang. Guys, thank you so much for watching and not watching, bloody hell. Ugh. Listening to us go on again. We'd really like to send out our thanks to all our listeners, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day and just downloading our podcast, all the rest of it. We'd love it if you could, it's a big if you could go to our YouTube, subscribe to us, or subscribe to us on Podbean, or indeed go to our Facebook, give us a like. And guys, as always, we exist to have your questions and input in the show. We really want that. So
we're trying to also.
Go on.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say we're trying to get this Patreon going,
right?
With proper lessons, starting from the basics right the way through the basics, and hopefully people might be interested in and help us along with a bit of Patreon or patronage or whatever. I don't know how it works, so I'm leaving all the technology to anyone who helped me. But basically, it's just trying to get some good videos off, and we'll put small snippets of that video on, Facebook or on YouTube, and then we'll have the whole lesson.
Absolutely.
And if you do subscribe, then you'll be able to watch the lessons, but also, of course, I will answer you by video, and also even time with video. The only problem, of course, is I'm 8 hours behind you, so your morning would be my afternoon, or my afternoon would be your. What would it be?
No,
your evening.
Our evening will be your morning, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, 8 hours. So, but it is possible. It is possible.
Absolutely.
I do lessons now with people in England, so there's no reason why I can't do it.
Oh, it's
and of course we're talking now.
Yeah, of course.
Even though probably, what time is it now? 5:10. So right now, what time is it there?
Oh God, it's 1:10 in the morning.
1:10 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay,
but,
so
I've got nothing else to do, old man. But guys, so there you go. There's an option that's coming. That's up and coming. Is the sort of the lessons, the video lessons on Patreon and all the rest of it. But as Steve mentioned, if you've got something quick you just want to ask, no problem. We'll do our best to get a video out to you. Or give us a different opinion on it or whatnot. We're all hey. You send us stuff, you tell us we're wrong, that's perfect as well, whatever. Let's spark debate. But in the meantime, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And from me, James Still, I'd like to say a big thank you and goodbye. And from the old man in Mountie country,
who's losing it because he's just constantly talking about the old days.
During the war.
I'm reminiscing.
Yeah, reminiscing. Yeah. Well, take care, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I kick your little Beijing ass right now, man. I ain't scared of you. I know you know that little tricky shit. Come on.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Kung Fu Podcast. If you like that and you want to find out more about us, you can head over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube and find us under SJN Martial Arts. And also guys, this podcast is available on Podbean and iTunes. So, until next time, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you again on the Kung Fu Podcast.
Guns. Now, why doesn't somebody pull off 45 and bang, settle it?
No guns.